Best of all, you pay just one low monthly rate for unlimited use. Phone access is available at a slightly additional charge. So if your current mobile communication system is too expensive, give Ilua a call. Ilua, the Keep in Touch Company, 515-242-3767.
Tuesday at 10 on News Center 13.
Good morning. Working through the night, investigators in Evansville, Indiana are still searching for clues to a tragedy that left 16 people dead. They were killed when a military C-130 went nose down at the airport and crashed into a restaurant and an adjoining hotel. Air Force officials claim it's way too early to speculate on the cause of the crash today, Friday, February the 7th, 1992.
From NBC News, this is Today with Bryant, Gumbel, Catherine Couric, and Joe Garagiola.
And good morning. Welcome to Today on a Friday morning. As we head to a weekend, we'll get to Faith Daniels in a moment. She'll bring us up to date on that tragedy in Evansville. Then we're going to look to a different kind of tragedy. We're going to go to Africa for a report from Somalia on the fighting there and some of the famine and starvation that is resulting from it. And we'll turn our attention to domestic politics, right?
That's right. We're going to have a profile of Paul Tsongas and how he's doing in the New Hampshire primary.
The tortoise is making his way along.
Yeah, he is. The people are listening
and
to his
you're not
message.
going to talk about the Jews?
Oh, right. We have juices. Andy Park, the Goo is going to be here.
Did you also see that we're doing a call-in today on the JFK?
Good idea, because I tell you, that movie's got everybody talking.
We've got a 800 number that we're going to be passing along to you in order for you to voice an opinion on who shot JFK as we conclude that series. So a busy day ahead. Let's start at the news desk. Here's Faith.
Good morning, Bryant, Katie, and Joe. Good morning, everyone. Investigators in Evansville, Indiana, are looking for an explanation for a deadly military air crash. It involved a reliable plane flown by a veteran pilot in good weather. More from Jim Cummins.
Today, investigators will try to figure out why the C-130 transport plane, one of the most dependable aircraft ever built, dropped out of the sky over Evansville, Indiana, crashed into a hotel and restaurant, killing 16 people. Danny Warden saw the plane crash.
I was driving down 41 here, and I looked to the sky, and I seen the green Army transport. It turned sideways, and its nose right straight into the building.
Members of the five-man flight crew who perished in the crash were practicing takeoffs and landings. Nothing unusual about that.
Like most residents here, I've seen them do touch and goes here. I'm assuming that's part of their normal training.
9 of the victims were in the hotel. It is believed that all of them were from Evansville, attending a company seminar on the 4th floor, when jet fuel from the blast sprayed over the building, causing a flash fire. Dave Robbins tried to save them.
And so myself and my partner went to the far side of the building and went up the fire escape to the 4th floor to try to get some people out of there, and we were able to carry 2 people down, and one of them was really badly burned.
Authorities say there was a voice recorder aboard the plane. They hope it will explain why this tragedy happened on a calm, sunny day during a routine training mission. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Evansville, Indiana.
President Bush has crossed the country promoting his plan for affordable health care. Jim Miklashevsky is traveling with the president.
In Las Vegas, President Bush brushed aside criticism from the Democrats as purely partisan politics.
What do you expect out of that?
But that didn't stop the president from playing a little politics himself in a couple of photo opportunities with a 1-pound premature baby and a young burn victim, all aimed at promoting his health care plan. Earlier in Cleveland, the president laid out his plan for health insurance vouchers and tax cuts, and also suggested that the nation's health picture would improve if the public would clean up its act.
But what we're talking about is behavior, drugs, alcohol abuse, risky sexual behavior. You know what I'm talking about.
Back in Washington, Democrats blasted the president's plan.
The entire approach to it is fraudulent, and the president knows it.
If the president's program was a medical prescription, it would be banned by the FDA as ineffective and unsafe.
Privately, White House officials admit that there's not much chance that much of Bush's health plan will get through Congress this year. But from a purely political standpoint, Bush aides are confident that may not matter. According to one White House official, we have a health plan now, and the Democrats don't. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, San Diego.
Israel's ambassador meets with Secretary of State Baker today to deliver his country's response to America's conditions for loan guarantees. The U.S. has asked Israel to suspend the building of settlements in occupied territories. CIA Director Robert Gates is touring the Middle East. The White House says he's there to meet some of his foreign counterparts. But the New York Times says Gates is discussing ways to force Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq. U.S. Coast Guard vessels have resumed their trips to Haiti, carrying refugees America turned away. The repatriation was suspended for a short time at the request of Haiti's provisional government. Officials said they needed to prepare for the return of as many as 10,000 refugees. Human rights groups have expressed concern about reports that torture and death await many of those who return. New Hampshire holds the nation's first 92 presidential primary a week from next Tuesday, and the campaigning has been hot and heavy. For one resident, it's been too hot and too heavy, and he's hot under the collar about it. Fred Briggs explains.
Good afternoon, Draft Mario Cuomo for president. How can I help you?
Volunteers in New Hampshire trying to get write-in votes for Mario Cuomo, even though he's not running.
It's very difficult to discourage people who are saying nice things to you and encouraging things about yourself personally.
Nationally, the campaign asks for support through an 800 number using his last name. Unfortunately, hundreds of those calls went to a misspelling of the governor's name. Instead of going to C-U-O-M-O, it was 800 C-O-U-M-O. And those calls went to this house in Salem, New Hampshire.
I'm calling about Mario Cuomo, please. I'd like to get some information how I can help the campaign.
The calls come to Randy Wells, who's in the lead paint removing business, in his parents' house, at all hours.
I asked him, how come your people are calling you that late?
Well, first I was a little, annoyed and figured, what's this? And I started calling a couple of them back to find out what was going on.
And it wasn't cheap. The bill for calls on his 800 line quadrupled in recent weeks, drove him to put in a new message on his answering machine.
If you were calling the Draft Cuomo line, sorry. You're holding up my line, you're spending my dime. Mario Cuomo is a waste of time.
I've always been a George Bush man.
And you still are?
Right.
But he wishes Bill Clinton, somebody, was an overwhelming front runner. Then maybe the calls would end.
Oh, I was just calling for the Mario Cuomo. I'm sorry.
Fred Briggs, NBC News, Salem, New Hampshire.
7:07, that's the latest.
And speaking of phone calls, before we move ahead to Willard, we mentioned a couple of moments ago that we had a call-in line for our Who Shot JFK series. Let's pass along the number now. We'll do it several times this morning. If you'd like to express an opinion on one of the 5 options about who you think may be responsible, the number is there, 1-800-524-3600, as the graphic shows you. The lines will be open until 8:45. We'll try to give you a final tally before we get off the air today. Should be somewhat interesting.
Really will be.
Certainly as interesting as Willard's travel itinerary. He was in Washington, he was in San Antonio, he was in Omaha. This morning he's a Cubby. Good morning, Willard.
Hiya, 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 hiya. Hey, listen, this is all right, isn't it? I'm in beautiful downtown Chicago. We got the river on my right over here. Behind me is Michigan Avenue. Our thousands of fans, you can see them all lined up over there waiting to watch. Incidentally, Bryant, you are a big man in this town. You know that. I mean, I realized you were raised here. I saw written on a wall for a good time called Bryant Gumbel, and watch the ratings rise. They love you, Dad. They love you. Hey, listen, it is about, we have Roberta Gonzalez, the most exciting weather lady in the entire business, and she'll be with us. She's Chicago's premier weather lady. She'll be here in the last segment to talk to us, and she told me the wind chill's about 17 this morning. Temperature is only about 29 degrees. For Chicago, it's a heat wave. For some reason, it feels chilly. Probably the oldest cliche in the world. That's why they call it the Windy City. I will never do that again. Happy birthday this morning. How sweet it is. Take a look, if you will, on our Hallmark hit parade. Roswell Barrett of Southport, Connecticut. That is nice country. Handsome man who's 100 years old today, well-known architect and loved by many people, served as a meteorologist in the United States Navy, and could we use him? Well, you know, it's always the story. And California didn't get all that much rain yesterday. They got about 3/4 to an inch, but caused some mudslides. That system is moving inland now. The Sierra Nevada range will get 3 to 6 inches around Tahoe. Flagstaff, beautiful Flagstaff, 1 to 3, and some rain showers on the shores of Lake Superior. Otherwise, it's a little cooler in the Midwest, but still milder than it normally is for this time of the year. Gale flags are flying on the Carolina coast, and along the coast of North and South Carolina, some rain showers again today. Otherwise, country's in pretty good shape. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Well, here we are, back to winter. Cool down begins. Partly cloudy today. High just 34 degrees. It'll seem a lot cooler, though, with that northwesterly breeze at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Then for tonight, it's going to be a cold one, overnight low right at 12 degrees in central Iowa.
And now back to Mrs. Field's favorite cookie. Here's Bryant.
All right, Willie. Thanks. 7:10 now. And on Close-Up this morning, civil war and hunger. On the Horn of Africa, the two go hand in hand. It was true in Ethiopia, and now it's all too sadly true in Somalia, where months of fighting have left thousands dead and hundreds of thousands in danger of starvation. A report this morning from freelance journalist Tim Deagle.
His father brought him here to escape being killed in the Civil War. Now he may die of hunger. More than 1,000 people are crowded into this warehouse in stifling heat with no sanitation. Few venture outside. Food is scarce. For most, there is none. All are suffering from malnutrition. Already there have been deaths. This camp is at Garagiola, 80 miles south of the capital, Mogadishu. The International Red Cross tried to get supplies here, but 9 out of the 12 food trucks were raided by armed looters, leaving these people to starve. It's a similar story in Mogadishu. There aren't enough beds for these severely malnourished children, so they share, taking it in turns to receive a few hours treatment before giving up their place for yet one more starving child. This hospital alone receives up to 900 children a day. Only a handful can be helped.
No water, no medicine, no life.
Thousands of people have been displaced by the war, living in camps like this all around the city, with little or nothing to survive on. They desperately need relief supplies here, but none reaches them because of the fighting. President Ali Mahdi and his rival General Aidid have been locked into months of fierce warfare, which has virtually destroyed the capital. Both sides claim they are fighting for democracy and peace, but despite repeated calls for a ceasefire, the fighting continues daily. With no sign to an end of the bloodshed, there's strong pressure for outside intervention. But a recent UN mission to Mogadishu failed to make any impression. The UN has since indicated that there is little it can do until the fighting stops. How this will come about, no one is certain. The only certainty today in Mogadishu is the steady stream of casualties brought daily to the city's overflowing hospitals. Many of them are no more than abandoned houses, where there are few doctors and even fewer supplies. So while the rival leaders disagree from the security of their fortified headquarters, Somalis face a stark choice. Stay in Mogadishu, where over 20,000 have been killed or wounded in the past 3 months, or flee to the country and face hunger and possibly starvation.
The reporter on that story, Tim Deagle, is in our NBC News Bureau in London this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can what we're seeing in Somalia still be characterized as a civil war, or is it now just factional fighting with nobody really knowing what they're fighting for?
It's definitely a civil war. I mean, Somali fighting against Somali. Unfortunately, families are even fighting against family. It's clan fighting. Nobody really knows what the fight is about anymore. It's gone on for so long, people are just fighting because they're angry.
From whom are the two sides getting the arms and ammunition to continue the struggle?
There was an awful lot of ammunition left over from the previous regime, which fell last year. They say some weapons have come in from Ethiopia once the downfall of Mengistu happened last year. Arms embargoes, which have been imposed by the UN now, they make very little difference for this kind of conflict.
The people are without food, without water, without medicine. Even if Western supplies were dispatched, would they get to those in need?
It's doubtful at the moment. There's so many guns in the city and in the countryside. There's so much fighting. The food, in fact, causes more of a problem than if you didn't send it at all. It's like cash. It's like throwing cash in the streets. It's very, very valuable.
So is there anything those in the West can do besides sit idly and watch a tragedy unfold?
Get the leaders to the negotiating table. Until that happens, it seems the conflict is going to continue. As one aid worker out there told me, he said the only thing that'll stop this war is if when everyone is dead or they run out of bullets.
Just this Wednesday, a UN envoy left from Nairobi to try to get the two sides to a table with negotiators. Is there any reason to feel optimistic about that effort?
The President Ali Mahdi, I think, would be very anxious to go to a negotiating table to reaffirm his position. The opposition, however, they have very little to gain in negotiating. I think they'll continue fighting.
Tim Deagle, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
It's 7:14. We're back in just a moment. This is Today on NBC.
Jack is cooking Eggs Benedict for Mary on their honeymoon.
Nothing.
How romantic.
Where's the switch for the, ow?
Honey?
Pity they don't know about Perkins, for not only does Perkins serve a classic Eggs Benedict, but a host of other varieties as well. Eggs Benedict at Perkins.
Honey, isn't hollandaise sauce supposed to be yellow? Not that I mind. Green is very creative.
We're opening a brand new Pigeons Gallery, so come join us for our grand opening celebration. We're giving you the lowest prices ever at Pigeons on every piece of merchandise. Make no payments till August during our grand opening celebration. That's right, no payments till August. You can win thousands of dollars in merchandise just by registering at our store.
You've heard it from everybody. Mr. Miller, wake up back there.
Come on, Miller. Wake up.
Miller?
Come on, Miller. When are you going to wake up?
If it's time for you to wake up, try the mountain-grown aroma of Folgers coffee. Folgers uses aromatic mountain-grown beans and now specially grinds them to unlock even more eye-opening aroma.
What?
She never meant to fall in love.
You're a spy, Mr. Leland.
And you've seen too many movies, Miss Foss. He never meant to put her in danger.
I will quit if you don't let me go.
I'll miss you. Now, he must risk his life. I've got to get her out of there. To save hers. A first-rate thriller rates G challenge. Michael Douglas and Melanie Griffith heat up the screen. Shining Through, rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Just 10 days before the New Hampshire primary, Democratic frontrunner Bill Clinton may be hearing footsteps from behind. The man he hears quietly gaining on him is the former senator from neighboring Massachusetts, Paul Tsongas, who calls himself a pro-business liberal. NBC's Lisa Myers did catch up with Tsongas, and this morning she's in our Washington newsroom. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Katie. When Paul Tsongas announced he was running for president 10 months ago, the political world laughed. Well, some people aren't laughing anymore.
When George Bush was at 91% is when I got into this race. And now he's at 43. I think I've done a hell of a job.
So far, he is the surprise of the campaign, the hit of a Democratic Party roast last week.
Did anyone in his right mind come here tonight believing that Paul Tsongas would steal this night?
No, nor did anyone think he would dominate the debate the following night, but he did.
Tom, you said there's no prevention in my health care plan. Page 3.
That night, for the first time, his opponents paid him the ultimate compliment. They attacked him.
Well, we had our last debate. I was a wonderful person with terrific economic plans. And now I've moved up in the polls, and now I'm Darth Vader.
Tsongas says one reason he's doing better is that he finally listened to his wife and got a media coach.
You will never again see me with a tie that's not red and not diagonal. You couldn't get elected to anything with that tie.
But more important, Tsongas has established himself as a candidate of integrity and courage.
If you want economic truth, I'm the only candidate.
Paul Tsongas has done a marvelous job of separating himself from the field and portraying himself as the one candidate with the guts to face up to reality.
Tsongas calls the traditional Democratic economic dogma Twinkie economics, calls Japan bashing surrender economics, accuses candidates who support a middle-class tax cut of pandering.
Somebody, and it's going to be me, is going to have to get out there and say to the American people, I'm not Santa Claus. If you want Santa Claus, I'm not your candidate.
Instead, Tsongas is selling himself as the candidate of economic renaissance. Short-term, he promises to declare an economic emergency the day he's inaugurated, freeze federal spending, stop the foreign takeover of strategic industries, and order banks not to foreclose on viable businesses. Long-term, he prescribes a capital gains tax cut for long-term investment, a 3 to 5 cent a year increase in the gasoline tax, and measures to rebuild the manufacturing base.
But if people are ready to finally sort of suck up their gut and recognize truth and deal with it, then they will vote for me.
Tsongas predicts that with his new stature will come increasing questions about whether there are any lingering effects from his bout with cancer. To show that he's healthy, he swims for just about anyone who asks.
If you are 50 years old, willing to appear in a Speedo bathing suit, you really have to want to be president of the United States.
Paul Tsongas is still a long shot, but not nearly as long a shot as he was a month ago. He's running a strong second in New Hampshire, and given the unpredictability of those voters, it's conceivable that he could win. Katie?
Lisa, even if he wins in New Hampshire, where does he go from there? Do you think he can attract much of an audience outside that state?
Well, there's Maine, Katie, but beyond that, you're absolutely right. He has virtually no organization, save a few people in Maryland or the state of Washington. Moreover, if Tsongas were to win New Hampshire, I think we'd see some big-name Democrats try to get into this race, arguing that the rest of the field doesn't have what it takes to beat George Bush.
Well, Lisa, he does have a good sense of humor, and I certainly give him credit for being photographed in a bathing suit.
Takes guts.
That's right. Thanks a lot, Lisa. We're back in a moment with more on Today, right after this.
This year, my buddies the mail carriers are helping Hallmark make you a hero. Just give your Valentine classic sweets. It's an exclusive collection of the finest chocolates. Then a few weeks later, Hallmark mails your Valentine a second box of chocolates. All for just $3.95 with any Hallmark card purchase at participating stores. So your Valentine feels special and you feel like a hero. Thanks to your dedicated mail carrier. Oh, and Hallmark. This year, go to Hallmark and give twice the love.
Spent the night tossing in bed.
Said some things I shouldn't have said.
Now the sunlight's breaking through. I put some coffee on for you.
Just wanna make up. Oh, I smell that Folgers brew.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mountain grown beans, specially ground. Now give Folgers more aroma to draw people to the coffee and each other.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
See Sunday's paper for the Wheel of Fortune Watch and Win game. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Remember, every time you breathe out...
And use smoked salmon.
Someone else may be breathing in.
Excellent.
Try Breath Saver sugar-free mints with the core of confidence and share them.
This Valentine's Day, make sure you send your sweetheart the FTD flower basket bouquet. Oh, and make sure you send it a day or two early, because as Cupid says, if your sweetheart misses out...
It's as easy as FTD.
This woman has stopped changing her cat box, and it's never been cleaner or fresher, thanks to new Tidy Scoop. With quick clumping action that eliminates germs and odors. New Tidy Scoop lets you face the world with the cleanest, freshest cat box every day.
Once again, let's show you the number that we are offering today as a call-in finale to our series, Who Killed JFK. The number is 1-800-524-3600. The lines are open until 8:45. There are, I understand, 5 options that you can exercise. Lone gunman being the first, the second one being the Mafia, the third the CIA, the fourth the Cubans, and then the fifth being any alternative theory that you may have. If you don't buy any of the above, it's just our way of trying to find out what most people do think of this.
And you're going to be talking to Oliver Stone.
We'll be talking to Oliver Stone a little bit later. Yeah.
It's really fascinating. You know, another movie's coming out called Ruby in March, so this controversy is not going to die anytime soon.
Not by a long shot. We've got a lot more ahead. Coming up just a moment. Coming up at 7:24. We'll take a station break.
The first time on television. Stop it! Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You're horrible.
Kindergarten Cop, Sunday at 8:30, 7:30 Central on NBC.
Harlan Meyer talks about timed-release bullet herbicide.
We had an early dry spring, we had then a very wet spring, then we had a very dry summer, and we had just excellent performance.
So what's the program this year, Harlan?
I told my sons, you're going to buy all bullet if I'm going to apply it.
Encapsulated timed-release bullet. Season-long control from clean till to no-till. Just ask Harlan.
I think bullet is the best product that you could use.
She's the most admired woman in the world,
and she sat down for a one-on-one exclusive interview with News Center 13's Kim Kerrigan.
I'm ready for anything.
You're flexible.
I'm flexible.
We talked about everything from the American family to her family.
In my wildest dreams, I never thought of being president's wife, and I really didn't believe it until he won the election.
Join me for One-on-One with Barbara Bush, tonight on News Center 13 at 6 and 10.
This is a News Center 13 update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stacia Strand. Thanks for joining us for a look at local news and weather on this 7th day of February at 7:25, about 26 degrees. We'll take a closer look at our forecast in just a moment. Lawyers for convicted arsonist Dale Ryan say they are already planning their appeal. A judge yesterday sentenced Ryan to just over 27 years in prison. Ryan was taken into custody and was denied bond pending the appeal. He is convicted of setting fire to his father's troubled health club in West Burlington. 2 firefighters were killed. 25-year-old Joe Wilt and Bill Klein died in the New Year's Day 1990 fire. Lawyers say the case is only the second arson murder to be tried under new sentencing guidelines. Governor Branstad is expected to sign a bill today that would help bail out local governments strapped for cash because of losses in the Iowa Trust. The House of Representatives sent a plan to the Senate yesterday that would clear the way for managers of the failed trust to seek federal bankruptcy protection. The Iowa caucuses may not be attracting much national media attention this year, but News Center 13 will plan to be there. Our caucus coverage begins Monday morning on Today in Iowa at 6:30 in the morning. Coverage will continue at noon, 5, and 6 o'clock, and we will have special reports during our top-of-the-hour updates, culminating with results and interviews on News Center 13 at 10 o'clock. Finally, Kim Kerrigan continues her special one-on-one reports tonight with First Lady Barbara Bush. They're going to talk about the First Lady's fight to save the family.
How important do you think the institution of the family is to the well-being of our country?
Well, I think it's about the most important thing. I mean, that's where children learn their values, and you learn it from a mother and a father.
Barbara Bush believes in the family, and she's willing to lobby to make sure it remains the nation's top priority.
Well, I'd certainly like to see the Congress act on laws that would help and strengthen the family. And I would like people to get their priorities a little bit more set. Children really are so briefly in our life. I hate to think, how quickly it goes and how important it is, and the rewards are so extraordinary.
Tonight, in the conclusion of my special series, One-on-One with Barbara Bush, we'll hear how the First Lady thinks the family has changed and what she thinks the future holds. One-on-One with Barbara Bush tonight on News Center 13 at 6 and 10.
And our forecast coming up for the weekend. We'll take a look at that right after this. Stay with us.
I'm a nurse, and I'm a nurse first, and I'm an Aetna employee second. The care is first. You know, is that patient being handled appropriately? I would hope that we would all care about patients the way we would ourselves or our own family members. And that's the way I see it. That, you know, that's my job.
If you're heading outdoors at 7:28, 30 degrees. Our temp has gone up about 5 degrees in the last hour or so, hour and a half. Cloudy sky out there with 18 above wind chill. Winds pretty light coming from the northwest. Partly cloudy skies, and here's what's going to make it seem a little colder out there today. Our winds are going to pick up to about 22 miles per hour, and they're coming from the northwest winds. High of 34 degrees as we wrap up the school and work week. Partly cloudy and cold tonight. We're dipping down to a low of 12 degrees. Winds still coming from the northwest as they continue into Saturday, 5 to 10 miles per hour with a fair sky for our Saturday and a high of 26 degrees, feeling more like February these days. Well, and Sunday a high of 37 degrees, and it's not going to be a weekend like last weekend, that's for sure. Low of 14 degrees for Sunday with partly cloudy skies. Chance of snow in there, not maybe a snowflake or two. Forecasters are predicting that to not amount to much accumulation for Monday. High of 40 degrees, warms back up to 45 degrees on Tuesday, and that's a look at some of the news and weather. I'm Stacia Strand, hoping to see you again Monday morning for Today in Iowa at 6:30. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
I would not even try to do my own taxes anymore.
We just depend on H&R Block to do them.
H&R Block is prepared for you.
I wanted the Johnsons to feel at home.
She really knows her business, and her business is taxes.
We're always right there.
The whole team's behind us all the way.
I'm real committed to this team.
We stand behind our work and guarantee your satisfaction.
America's tax team, standing up for you.
Kim Kerrigan talks to Barbara Bush tonight at 10 on News Center 13.
Back 7:30 on a Friday morning, along with Katie Couric, Joe Garagiola. I'm Bryant Gumbel. An oft-heard complaint these days is that Hollywood starlets lack the glamour of those past. A notable exception, I would think, would be one Kim Basinger. We're going to hear from her in this half hour, talking about her latest movie, Final Analysis. Why are you looking at me like that?
One man's opinion.
One man's opinion.
We're also going to find out about a new kind of currency that's being spent in cities across the country. It's called time dollars. Volunteers who help others earn credits for volunteering and in turn receive helper services for their credits. We'll explain in this half hour. Joe?
Katie, Brian, we've got the story this morning of a North Dakota youngster who lost both his arms in a farm accident. And he kept his wits about him. He managed to get some help. And there's some hope that he may regain some use of his arms, which surgeons were able to reattach. It's an incredible story.
We
were talking about
it. Really is. He never lost consciousness.
What a brave guy.
Yeah, came back, dialed for help with a pencil that he held in his teeth.
Incredible.
Let's move to the news desk. Here's Faith.
Thank you, Bryant. Air Force investigators in Evansville, Indiana, today are trying to find out what caused Thursday's crash of a C-130 transport plane. All 5 people on the plane and at least 11 others on the ground were killed when the plane hit a restaurant and a motel and exploded. One man said it looked like the whole world was on fire. The Kentucky National Guard crew members had been practicing touch-and-go landings at the time of the crash.
For some reason, he lost speed and altitude, and at the end, it's like the airplane stalled, and it just fell flat to the ground.
Kind of seen the green Army transport turn sideways and his nose right straight into the building.
In addition to the 16 who died, 19 other people were hurt, several of them critically. President Bush this morning is in California hoping to win backing for his national health care plan. The president's package calls for $100 billion in tax credits and deductions over 5 years to help the poor and middle class buy health insurance. Democrats call his plan woefully inadequate. The head of a senior citizens group calls it voodoo health economics. CIA Director Robert Gates is in the Middle East this morning. The New York Times says he's there to talk about U.S. efforts to oust Iraqi President Saddam Hussein. The White House confirms that Gates is in the Middle East, but one official downplays speculation that the trip is aimed at toppling Saddam. Secretary of State Baker today holds a key meeting on U.S. loan guarantees to Israel. He meets with Israel's ambassador, who may respond to U.S. conditions for granting the $10 billion in loan guarantees. The U.S. wants Israel to stop building new settlements in the occupied territories before granting the loan guarantees. The United States on Thursday returned hundreds more refugees to Haiti. More than 500 arrived in Port-au-Prince on board 2 Coast Guard cutters. Under a new agreement, the U.S. will drop off refugees 3 days a week until more than 10,000 Haitians are repatriated. That process is expected to go on for several weeks. New federal figures show that the nation's infant mortality rate has fallen to an all-time low, but still needs to fall lower. According to the Centers for Disease Control, there were just under 10 deaths for every 1,000 live births in the latest figures. But compared to other countries, the U.S. infant mortality rate now ranks 24th. Japanese officials say it may be tough for Prime Minister Miyazawa to go ahead with plans to visit the U.S. in May. They blame President Bush's busy re-election campaign schedule and not recent comments by Miyazawa about American workers. Magic Johnson says he's ready to play in this weekend's All-Star game in Orlando. He got in some practice on Thursday, saying his final game in the NBA Sunday will be an emotional one. He retired from the NBA in November after testing positive for the AIDS virus, but was picked by fans to be in the All-Star team. Coming up on 7:34 now.
All right, Faith, thanks so very much.
It's going to be an emotional game.
It really will. Really will. The All-Star game's on NBC, right? Mm-hmm. Sunday. Okay. As we head out to Chicago, by the way, did you see at the horse show what one of the more popular stud services was? The horse Willard Scott.
Willard Scott.
Really?
Honest to goodness.
That's no surprise.
Honest to goodness, Willard.
It's the only complete horse with a name, I must say.
Popular and expensive, I might add.
Yes, let me tell you, that horse is a friend of mine sired that horse. Actually, he didn't. His dad But that horse is kinky. The friend of mine down in Blue Ridge Stables in Virginia, that's been a very, very successful horse. I want to show you. Joe, are you watching?
I'm watching.
Look at this. What do you think?
I think it's great.
Is this lovely?
Yeah.
I borrowed this from Pat Summerall, who is freezing to death 2 blocks down the street right now. But it's a great show. I couldn't believe it fit me because, you know, Pat's pretty svelte. I'm rather grandiose. Let's do a couple of birthdays, then we'll frivol at 8. Ethel Rose on our Hallmark birthday salute from Waterford, Pennsylvania. Beautiful lady, very attractive, 102 years old today, farmer all of her life and leader in her church for 50 years. Take a look as we turn the page of life. Eugene Faust of Hanover, Mass. Good look at him, good-looking man. Got his own hair and teeth. He's 104, enjoys good home cooking and a sip of sweet brandy. I think this crew would probably swim on their back across Lake Michigan for a sip of sweet brandy this morning. And we may give them a shot at that. Happy, bro, we've done that. Let's do today's weather map. A little bit chilly in New England again today. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s. Cooler in the midsection of the country, but not anywhere near normal temperatures, still well above normal temperatures. Big story is the rain that hit Southern California, causing some mudslides yesterday and today, moving into the Sierra Nevada range, and that'll create maybe 3 to 4 inches of snow. Lake Superior could get about a half a foot of snow today, and the western shores of Lake Superior. Gale flags are flying on the Carolina coast again this morning, windy, breezy. Could be, of course, some beach erosion. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Well, here we are, back to winter. Cool down begins. Partly cloudy today. High just 34 degrees. It'll seem a lot cooler, though, with that northwesterly breeze at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Then for tonight, it's going to be a cold one. Overnight low right at 12 degrees in central Iowa.
That's all for right now, and we'll be back with more goodies at 8 o'clock, and Joe is standing by looking for his jacket.
I'm looking for that cap, Willard. You know, the Cubs still own me. Would you believe that? Still own me. They will not release
that's
me.
great. I forgot to do it. I'll do it later.
What, release me? You know, stories of severed limbs being reattached are not unusual. Incredible, but not unusual. But the story that NBC's Roger O'Neill has for us this morning is unusual, primarily because of the young man that it's about.
He wants to be able to turn a doorknob with his hands. 18-year-old John Thompson will probably be able to do much more than that, but for now, that would be very impressive. John's the North Dakota farm boy whose arms, both of them, were severed less than a month ago. His story of how he got help after the accident was amazing. Running to his house, opening the door by turning the knob with his mouth, and then dialing the phone for help with a pen held in his teeth. The first number was busy, so he dialed another one.
I didn't want to lay there and wait to die because, I mean, that'd take forever for me to die.
One of the two doctors who reattached John's arms at North Memorial Hospital in Minneapolis declares now they are keepers, although there will be some limitations.
He's going to be able to hold some objects and touch some objects. John is going to have some significant handicaps, but I'm glad we've got these arms.
Dr. Alan Van Beek is one of the few microsurgeons who can reattach limbs. He is well known for that, especially in farm country, and he has committed himself to trying to educate farm families with a program known as First Care of what to do when, not if, there is an accident, since 1 in 5 farmers will someday make a mistake or get caught in their machinery.
There are always going to be accidents on the farm because of the nature of agriculture. But what was remorseful for me was to find people who didn't know how to deal with an accident. Imagine yourself coming on and finding your son in this situation. How you respond to that is crucial.
Van Beek often sees patients coming to the hospital, but their severed limbs are left behind. Farming, because of the powerful equipment used to rip, cut, and compress the crops, which does the same thing to arms and legs, is one of the most dangerous occupations in America. There are more than 120,000 farm accidents every year, and because so many children under the age of 16 help their parents, a lot of children get hurt too. There are no state or federal child labor laws on the family farm. Greg Kohler is a farmer with kids, and he's also an EMT who responds to farm accidents.
The economy of the farm is terrible right now, and many farmers are forced to use their kids because they can't afford good labor, extra labor, and that's a problem. But I don't think government regulation is our opening to the solution. I think we ought to solve it ourselves and just maintain safety. Keep the kids out of it until they're prepared and old enough.
John had done the chore he got hurt on 100 times before. This time, a piece of clothing got caught in the power drive of an auger, and in an instant, both arms were severed.
I just remember it grabbed my shirt, and I remember with my right hand, I went down and grabbed it. And then I remember spinning around, and I remember laying beside the tire.
John will be going home in a couple of weeks, but he will need more operations, and there will be years of rehabilitation. He is thankful, though, to be alive, and as only a teenager can say it, he thinks Dr. Van Beek is pretty cool. For today, Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Minneapolis.
Incredible story, and that 1 out of 5 farmers is an incredible statistic. Up next, more of our look at the new movie, Final Analysis, in a conversation with co-star Kim Basinger.
Nothing is going to keep me from going ahead.
And ahead in our second hour, Who Killed JFK? We'll talk to the man behind all the current debate, filmmaker Oliver Stone. 7:40. We'll be right back after these messages.
Ooh, it took a cold morning like this one for me to discover a really great hot cereal for my family. And who would have expected? It's grape nuts. I just pour grape nuts, add milk, and microwave for a minute. It's got a warm, smooth, hearty taste that's so delicious we all love it. And grape nuts is fat-free. It's the perfect way to help keep us all going on a cold winter's morning. Hot, delicious grape nuts. Try it for yourself.
Hot or cold, breakfast with Post Grape Nut cereal helps keep you going strong all morning long.
Every sports sedan is supposed to do well in the fast lane. But what about these lanes? At Lexus, we've achieved extremely tight tolerances between all major body panels. So not only does the ES300 look like it's put together well, it actually is put together well.
Today's Contact takes on
Carol's horrible cold. I have a lot of congestion in through here. I'm like it's going to blow off the top of my head.
You took a cold pill, right?
The effects wore off. The congestion's coming back.
That's because ordinary cold pills can quit working after just 4 hours. Try Contact. You'll get continuous relief for up to 12 hours.
I felt wonderful. All my symptoms were gone. Everything dried up. It's for busy people who have no time to be sick. This is a great product, and I'm going to go out and buy it tonight.
Today's Contact, 12 hours stronger than Carol's horrible cold.
How long will the flavor of carefree, sugarless gum last? Till the cows come home. Welcome home. Carefree peppermint with NutraSweet. The flavor lasts.
Chapstick. From the freezing wind to the scorching sun, Chapstick Lip Balm is serious medicine made to help chapped lips heal fast and healthy lips stay healthy. Whatever the weather, don't take chances. Take Chapstick.
At 7:42, let us once again pass along a phone number that we are making available today for you to express an opinion on who killed JFK. The lines are open until 8:45 Eastern Time. The number is 1-800-524-3600. Before we get off the air today, we'll pass along the results. This morning, we conclude our 3-part look at Final Analysis, a film that opens today and stars Richard Gere and Kim Basinger. Our man in Hollywood, Jim Brown, says movie buffs may find the film somewhat familiar.
Author Thomas Wolfe wasn't talking about the movies when he wrote, "You Can't Go Home Again," because the movies often return to past glories to capture present-day audiences. Such a movie is Final Analysis, starring Kim Basinger and Richard Gere. Set in San Francisco, Basinger plays a seductive blonde whose surface image masks a duplicitous mind. And Gere, as a psychiatrist who falls in love with her, is carried along as the victim of her manipulations. The plot swirls around Basinger getting rid of her husband, played by Eric Roberts.
Don't look in his eyes! He'll burn your soul! Can't you smell it? Burning bodies everywhere! Burning flesh! Don't look at him! Don't! He'll burn you!
I just abandoned the whole job of being an actress, of being anything. I just came to work, and I loved every minute of doing this film. The experience I had with Phil and the whole cast. You know, and Richard and I had worked together before, yes. So that was sort of, we knew each other's moves and things, and that makes it sort of a pleasure, you know. They used to do that a lot in the 40s. Repeat performances with coupling, you know, different couples and stuff.
The Phil that Kim Basinger refers to is Phil Joannou, the young director of Final Analysis. Using Wesley Strick's script, Joannou has shaped a contemporary thriller borrowing the best from the past. For example, The Maltese Falcon, also set in San Francisco, with Mary Astor as the not-to-be-trusted client of Humphrey Bogart's Sam Spade.
You won't need much of anybody's help. You're good. It's chiefly your eyes, I think, and that throb you get in your voice when you say things like, "Be generous, Mr. Spade."
I deserve that.
Falcon is echoed in Final Analysis.
I think this is crazy.
Yes, this is crazy. It's also very clever. You are a very clever woman.
And Final Analysis, with its climactic lighthouse set piece, a lighthouse placed conveniently in San Francisco Bay, draws heavily on Hitchcock's classic San Francisco-based Vertigo, with the not-to-be-trusted Kim Novak luring Jimmy Stewart into a murder plot. Here the setting is the tower of an old California mission.
Vertigo may have been an inspiration to the writer originally, and I think when the film moved, it was originally set in New York, but there was a union strike at the time we were shooting the movie, and we couldn't shoot New York, so the movie got moved to San Francisco, which even shifted the movie more toward Vertigo because it's the same locale. And I think that, you know, naturally when you make a film in this genre and you have a big set piece at the end, and it does take place in a tower, there's going to be that immediate kind of reference. But hopefully that's a positive thing, and hopefully that's something that, you know, look, if this movie can come close to the kind of entertainment that Vertigo gave us all and still does, that would be fantastic. Make a movie that delivers, you know, that isn't a letdown, but actually gives you what you thought you'd get.
Is commercial a dirty word to you?
Not to me at all,
I
no.
love it. And, you know, when you buy a record, and you buy a record thinking that the whole, you hear this song and you think the whole album's going to be wonderful. It's only that one song, the rest of it, you can't even believe that the same artist sang it. You know, it's like buying an album. And I think every record, you know, will not be a disappointment. I think, you know, that's why I'm here, really. And he's not bad either, so I wanted to push his act a little.
Now, if you don't think movies copy movies, let me show you something else. Here is a restaurant scene in Final Analysis. Richard Gere walking by the table looking at Kim Basinger. When I was checking through Vertigo, the restaurant scene where Jimmy Stewart first sees Kim Novak has Stewart at the bar watching as Novak leaves the restaurant. The two sequences are quite different. But look at this. When Gere and Basinger appeared together in 1986's No Mercy, director Richard Pierce must have been weaned on Vertigo because it's almost a reverse duplicate. These things were never meant to be seen together, but when they are, they make for interesting comparisons. Well, it's 6 years later, and Gere and Basinger are starring in a new film titled Final Analysis. It's a psychological thriller, or you might say, the stuff that dreams are made of. For today, Jim Brown, NBC News, Hollywood.
Moving up on 7:48, we're back in just a moment to find out what time dollars are after a break. This is Today on NBC.
The moon is not green, this moon is red. It comes from the heart.
Hi, I'm Franklin Green from Quality Ford in West Des Moines.
I'm Bob Biney. Come out today for a huge savings on our 92 Probe GL hatchbacks and a Ranger Super Cab.
That's right, Bob. You can get this 1992 Probe GL hatchback with power brakes, rear window defroster, power steering, and much, much more for as low as $199 a month.
Or this 92 Ford Ranger Super Cab with power steering, analog brakes, full carboning, and much more for as low as $169 a month.
So come on down to Quality Ford, I-235 and A Street in West Des Moines. Our deals are real.
It was one of those freak accidents that just happened. But when I woke up at Iowa Methodist, they told me my back was broken and I was paralyzed from the waist down. At the Yonker Rehabilitation Center, they helped me learn and relearn everything so I could get out on my own. And today, I'm working at a major insurance company helping disabled people go back to work. The people at Yonker Rehab made all the difference to me. That, and the fact that we Gears never give up.
The All Canada Show. Discover the great outdoors. Discover Canada.
A whole new world awaits you at the All Canada Show, playing the adventure of a lifetime.
Hi, I'm Babe Winkleman.
Join me at the All Canada Show where you can win some great prizes.
Your adventure starts here. The All Canada Show.
Coming to Des Moines, February 6th through the 9th.
Too attached to an old TV or VCR? Let go and go to Best Buy. Now through Saturday, every TV and every VCR at Best Buy is on sale. Our Best Buys are even better. It's your move.
This morning, a recession-proof idea that is guaranteed to give you back more than you gave. Intrigued? It's called Time Dollars, and it's something from which every community in America can benefit. Contributing correspondent Lea Thompson joins us from Washington with more. Hi, Lea.
Good morning, Katie. You know, this is a good news story, and the concept is simple. In fact, it's what neighbors used to do for neighbors until families and friends ended up splintered all over America.
Come in. Hi, Shirley. How are you today? You look pretty good.
Hundreds of times each day in this country, kind people like Evelyn DePisa reach out to those in need.
You want the applesauce?
And at the same time, earn some credits in case they need a favor someday.
You want bread? No, have bread. Good.
Evelyn and Shirley Gold both belong to Elder Plan, an HMO in Brooklyn, New York. On this day, Evelyn will do some grocery shopping for Shirley, but tomorrow, Shirley may be able to help someone else in another way.
Good. And would you like anyone to visit you from Elder Plan when you get home?
Yes.
Every hour members of Elder Plan log as volunteers, they gain an hour's worth of credit in Elder Plan's bank. They can even use the credits to pay off part of the premiums on their health insurance because their volunteering keeps the HMO's costs down.
All right. There you got it.
The time credit or service credit idea is catching on. Several thousand people in 25 states and the District of Columbia are now generating millions of hours of volunteer credit each year.
This is Ephraim Wheeler from Service Credits.
Like this program in Washington, D.C., usually only one full-time employee with a computer is necessary to run the system.
It's really like money in the bank. If you're well and able to volunteer now, God should forbid, but maybe sometime in the near future you might need a service.
The originator of all this goodwill is Edgar Kahn, who saw his idea really take off among seniors in Miami.
They're running children daycare centers. They're helping to run home visiting programs for pregnant mothers. They're helping to do diabetes education and training. They're doing mentoring in the schools.
It's giving back to your community, helping your community. It's a movement. It's a new kind of money. The money's not green, this money's red. It comes from the heart.
And because they have earned credit, it also encourages people who might otherwise feel they are a burden to ask for help. 40% of typical volunteers drop out, but only 10% leave the service credit program. Many people never even put in for their credits.
It appeals to a universal need to feel needed, to feel valued, to feel that you count. That's very basic, and that really drives people.
I'm going to do these dishes for you.
All right. This is a godsend.
Maxine Smith and Aldine Hawkins both belong to a service credit system in the nation's capital.
You know, I don't think about credits. It makes you feel good to know that you can help somebody. And if we reach out to others, most certainly they will reach back. Any way I can help you, let me know. I don't care where it's night or day. You have my number, just call me and I'll be here.
You know, there's no end to service credit uses. Young parents doing odd jobs on weekends for seniors who repay them in babysitting. Seniors staffing legal services office for free legal help. Edgar Kahn sees a day when students will use volunteer time credits toward tuition at community colleges. He's written a book called Time Dollars, telling exactly how to set up a program and get it going. As he says, time dollars are exchangeable currency that are not subject to inflation or taxes or even the balance of trade. They're just frankly a great idea. Katie?
It's a terrific idea, Lee, and I think what's so great about it is people may enter the program because they're interested in the credits, but once they start volunteering, a lot of them don't even care about the credits. They just want to help somebody out.
That's absolutely the best part of the program, and that's what's happening all over the country. It gets people into volunteering, and then they like it, and they stay, and suddenly it just grows and grows. It's just a terrific idea.
It sure is. Lea Thompson, thanks so much. Have a good weekend.
You too.
We're back in a moment with more on Today, right after this.
The curve of a sleigh bed. The beauty of a porcelain vase. The Country French collection from Ethan Allen. When a room looks like this, it's a pity to spend so much time in it with your eyes closed. Right now, there's a sale going on at your Ethan Allen Gallery.
I suggest tulips and carnations. With roses.
Flowers have a way with words, and we have a way with flowers. We're 1-800-FLOWERS. Our name is our number. Call us anytime for FTD service anywhere to anyone guaranteed. Need advice? Call 1-800-FLOWERS. Our operators will be happy to help.
I think you dialed the wrong 800 number.
Call 1-800-FLOWERS to order now.
To a world that's not always as gentle as you'd like it to be, Johnson's Baby introduces a new generation of gentleness. New Johnson's Baby Shampoo with a richer, gentler lather that leaves delicate hair even softer and more manageable. The new generation of gentleness from Johnson's Baby. Because your baby's world should be as gentle as you can make it.
Come home.
To doctor a bad cough, get new Robitussin Maximum Strength Cough.
This'll help.
It gives big relief. New Robitussin Maximum Strength Cough. Big relief for your worst coughs.
Remember, every time you breathe out,
the winds of change are blowing.
Someone else may be breathing in
a new direction.
Try Breath Saver sugar-free mints with the core of confidence and share them.
Again, let us pass the number along to you if you'd like to voice an opinion about who killed JFK. We thought it'd be a good footnote to our series. The lines are open until 8:45 this morning. The number is 1-800-524-3600. We understand that since we came on the air now just 57 minutes ago, we have received over 12,000 phone calls. And so the options are lone gunman, mafia, CIA, Cubans, or
Another theory.
Another theory.
And it's a free phone call.
It is a free phone call. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It is a toll-free phone call. And we're going to pass the results along before we get off the air. I'm told only, I'm not following what's out in front, but I'm told only the results so far are fascinating.
Are we going to make a prediction?
Yeah, I think we may get to it in our second hour. We're going to be concluding our series with a gentleman who I can see is already up on the line, who'll be joining us from Buenos Aires, a gentleman who started all this hoopla. Oliver Stone is standing by down there. Don't know if he's listening right now. Oliver, can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
Oh, hi, Oliver. It's Bryant. How you doing?
Oh, hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks. Well,
I have the distinct disadvantage today of not being able to see you.
Uh-oh. Someone might call it an advantage, Oliver. We'll be...
I was going to say.
Sit tight. We'll be getting there shortly.
So I can't see your skeptical looks.
Now, don't start already. We might also add, well, we've got an opportunity here that next week we'll be coming to you from Cuba on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be originating the show from Havana. Maybe at that time we'll also get a chance to talk about the Cuban connection.
Yes.
As one of the possibilities.
We'll be in Miami on Friday.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of stuff going. Stick around. Second hour figures to get even more interesting since Oliver's so skeptical. We'll find out what he's got to say when we come back after station break.
Nixon, Hot Pants, Vietnam, Sonny and Cher.
I'm Faith Daniels. Welcome back to the 70s. On the next, a closer look.
Foreman & Clark is completely remodeling its Southridge store, and there's no place to store the inventory. So from now through February 17th, everything in Foreman & Clark's Southridge store has been dramatically marked down. No suit is more than $150, and most are less. Sport coats begin at $19, outer coats at $60, and pants are priced from $9. At these prices, all the rations are not included. Cash or check only, and all sales are final. That's at Foreman & Clark, Southridge Mall, Des Moines.
Join me for One-on-One with Barbara Bush, tonight on News Center 13 at 6 and 10.
From WHO TV 13 Des Moines, this is a 24-hour news update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stacia Strand with this live news update at 8 o'clock, 30 degrees. Governor Bryant is expected to sign a bailout plan today for the local governments which lost money in the collapse of the Iowa Trust. The measure allows the Iowa Finance Authority to issue $30 million in bonds for low-interest loans to help the cash-strapped governments pay their bills on time. And the 6 senators accused of ethics violations by Senator Joe Welch say his complaints are without merit and should be dismissed. Your weekend forecast at 8:25.
Back now, it's 8 o'clock on a Friday morning, 7th morning of February of '92. Straight ahead in this hour, we'll wind up our series this week on Who Killed JFK with the man whose controversial movie rekindled the national debate over the assassination, Oliver Stone. Welcome back to the second hour of today in Studio 3B. I'm Bryant Gumbel, here with Katie Couric and Joe Garagiola, and we solicit your opinion this morning on Who Killed JFK. If you have a touch-tone phone and you call before 8:45 Eastern Time, you can voice your opinion of the many theories that we've looked at this week. Once again, that toll-free number is 1-800-524-3600. If the lines are busy, we ask that you please be patient and keep trying, because as we said, we've already received over 12,000 phone calls in the past hour. We're going to total up all of the opinions and get to that in our last hour. We'll, of course, pass them along.
But if you have a rotary phone, you can't do it.
I would imagine not.
Yeah,
no.
I think my parents are the only people in America who still have a rotary phone. Mom and Dad, get with the program. Also in this last half hour, gadget guru Andy Parr will be here with the latest state-of-the-art developments in high-tech juice extractors. We're going to make all sorts of concoctions. I cannot promise they will all be tasty ones, however. Joe?
Okay. And our today's family segment has some advice a lot of people can use these days. How to explain to your kids about recession and why they can't have everything that they're used to having.
8:01. Let's move to the news desk right now. Once again, Faith Daniels.
Thank you, Bryant. It's still not clear this morning why a C-130 military transport plane crashed Thursday into a motel and restaurant in Evansville, Indiana. The plane was practicing takeoffs and landings at a nearby airport when it lost power. Witnesses say the plane dropped out of the sky nose first and crashed in a fireball. At least 16 people, including all 5 crew members, died in the crash. 19 others were injured, several seriously. Congressional Democrats say they expected to pass a comprehensive health care bill this year, but they also say it won't be the one that President Bush is pushing. The president, who's on the road trying to rally support for his plan, says his proposal of tax credits and deductions will help 95 million Americans buy health insurance, but Democrats aren't buying it.
If the president's program was a medical prescription, it would be banned by the FDA as ineffective and unsafe.
President Bush is calling the Democrats' own health care plan a prescription for disaster. There are reports in the Middle East this morning that Israel may agree to stop the building of Jewish settlements in the occupied territories. Israel may agree to the U.S. proposal in order to get loan guarantees. Israel is against linking the two issues, but is in dire need of the guarantees in order to accommodate the influx of thousands of Russian Jews. Secretary of State James Baker calls the settlements the greatest obstacle to peace in the region. More than 300,000 Jews from what was the Soviet Union have emigrated to Israel since 1989, but the influx is slowing down as reports of Israel's economic problems increase. Tom Aspel reports.
For years they dreamed of Israel, of freedom and opportunity in the Promised Land. But they're discouraged now by tales filtering back from Soviet Jews encountering problems in Israel, of symphony orchestra conductors sweeping the streets in downtown Tel Aviv, of brain surgeons pumping gas to make ends meet. In January, a packed synagogue listened impassively as Israeli Foreign Minister David Levy, here for Middle East peace talks, implored more of them to leave Russia for the Jewish homeland. The Israeli consulate reports a 20% drop in immigration from here in the last 12 months.
Some people, you know, they're just afraid to leave because they're afraid that their life in Israel may be very hard.
Many Jews go through the paperwork anyway, just in case.
From time to time, there are provocations organized by anti-Semitic groups.
The Israeli government sends them Hebrew teachers for encouragement, but many trace their ancestry here back too far. They have that very Russian attachment to the motherland.
The new Russia heralds a democratic free market system. For a lot of Russian Jews, it's an enticing thought. They're just not ready to pull up roots and start a new life in a strange country, even if it is the promised land. Tom Aspal, NBC News, Moscow.
CIA Director Robert Gates is in the Middle East, but the White House is playing down reports that he's there to discuss ways of getting rid of Saddam Hussein. Administration officials say the Gates trip is a fact-finding, get-acquainted meeting. There are reports in Japan today that Prime Minister Miyazawa's trip to the United States this spring may be delayed. Officials are blaming a busy campaign schedule and not recent trade friction. Brad Willis has more.
According to two leading Japanese newspapers, plans for Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa to visit the U.S. this May are likely to be postponed for political reasons. President Bush's recent trip to Japan was widely perceived as a flop, and the ongoing recession in America has triggered waves of Japan bashing. To now have Miyazawa come to America during the campaign primaries might be politically risky for Bush. Late today, Japan's foreign ministry denied having dialogue with the White House about postponing the trip. But Miyazawa, too, is in political trouble at home. A top aide has been indicted in a growing bribery scandal. Miyazawa's popularity is plummeting in the polls. A by-election coming up this weekend is being seen as a litmus test for his ruling Liberal Democratic Party. And then there's Miyazawa's recent statements about the American work ethic that only further strain Japan-American relations.
It's picked up by the American media, then it becomes a big deal in America, then it's brought back to Japan, and then it becomes a big deal in Japan, and there are replies and statements and what have you and so on, and then that's picked up again and taken to America. It's like a great big ping-pong game.
Good relations between Japan and America are critical, but these days politics and public moods are making diplomacy between these two allies a tough game to play. Brad Willis, NBC News, Tokyo.
The 91-year-old actress known as the First Lady of the American Theater is hospitalized in New York City this morning. Helen Hayes is undergoing treatment for exhaustion. She's listed in stable condition. There's no word on how long she's expected to remain in the hospital. A friend calls it a well-deserved rest. It's coming up on 8:07 now. It's the latest.
All right, Faith, thanks so very much. Now, Bucky and Bellis have had time to work on this move, so we take the pivot and go like this. We got to work on a little more, guys. Willie, I see you've gone to the South Side team now.
Well, that's right. We got a reason for that, because our birthday lady, the first one, is a big White Sox fan. And remember when Comiskey Park, the new one, opened?
You were there.
We were there, man. We had our John Deere tractor cutting center field. Upward Incorporated. It is a fabulous new group up in New York City. They've been around for a while, but it is an after-school program in Harlem to help young people with their homework. And they're having a big auction at Christie's Monday night. Good items auctioned off. The money all goes to a good cause. And speaking of good causes, right here in Chicago, we are happy to say that the Lions Club celebrating their 75th anniversary, Diamond Jubilee. Isn't that great? Great organization, international, all over the world. Speaking of birthdays and this hat, take a look at our Hallmark review. Our first birthday lady is Sophie Mykola, Patterson, New Jersey, and she is a huge, incredible White Sox fan. Loves them, loves the Sox. Also, Charlie Williams. He didn't tell me who his baseball team was, but Charlie likes the Pancake House and Skippy's fried fish. Couple of plugs, probably owns some stock in it. He's 104 today. Happy birthday. I like pancakes too. Lots of butter, real butter, none of that funny stuff. Okay, Saturday, looking ahead, as we say, I think we're the victims of a hoax. They told me we're going to do a St. Patrick's Day parade here. The river isn't even green. Look, Saturday for some snow showers. The Intermountain Range all the way back down to West Texas. That'll turn to rain there. Also some snow in New England. Boy, the ski people in New England are going gaga. They're dancing and singing in the streets. They're having a great year. And beautiful snow in the Rockies by Sunday. And that'll help because it's been warm out there. Still a little bit warm in the nation's midsection, but cooler than it has been. Hat fits me great, doesn't it? It's going to pop off. It'll probably go to the moon in a minute. But do look for some gale flags flying on the Carolina coast and some snow in the Sierra Nevada range and Lake Superior to the west of Lake Superior. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Well, here we are, back to winter. Cool down begins. Partly cloudy today. High just 34 degrees. It'll seem a lot cooler, though, with that northwesterly breeze at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Then for tonight, it's going to be a cold one. Overnight low right at 12 degrees in central Iowa.
That's it. That's all right now, Brian. My headband's getting, I think, it's circulation. Back to you in New York.
All right, Willie, thanks so very much. It's 8:09. We're back in just a moment to conclude our series on Who Killed JFK. We'll talk with Oliver Stone right after this.
This year, my buddies the mail carriers are helping Hallmark make you a hero. Just give your Valentine classic sweets. It's an exclusive collection of the finest chocolates. Then a few weeks later, Hallmark mails your Valentine a second box of chocolates. All for just $3.95 with any Hallmark card purchase at participating stores. So your Valentine feels special and you feel like a hero. Thanks to your dedicated mail carrier. Oh, and Hallmark. This year, go to Hallmark and give twice the love.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always come through. It's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mountain Grown Folgers decaffeinated. It gives you something the other leading brand doesn't. Richer aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. What a wonderful way to let the sun shine on your day. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Hot coffee and steak in front of strangers at 30,000 feet? Not with my old adhesive.
Fix-It-Dent holds stronger than any other adhesive. It even stands up to the hottest liquids.
Now I Fix-It-Dent and forget it.
Yeah. The very first time I ate Equal. It's such a personal thing. I put it in my cereal, I put it in my iced tea, I put it on half a grapefruit. I think that people don't realize how much sugar they eat. You're more concerned about what you put in your car than what you put in your body. There's sugar, there's the pink stuff, and there's Equal. You have those three choices.
Only Equal has 100% NutraSweet. No sugar, no saccharin.
When I sit down to make a choice, I choose Equal.
As we conclude our week-long series, we once again ask the question, who killed JFK? All this week, we've been looking into the tragic events of November 22nd, 1963. We've examined the different assassination theories and have attempted to separate fact from fiction. This morning, we conclude our series with the man most responsible for the renewed debate over the assassination, Oliver Stone, the man who directed the movie JFK.
John F. Kennedy's murder was probably one of the most terrible moments in the history of our country.
Oswald's been shot.
And who killed the president?
Oh, Neil!
Do I have to spell it out for me, Mr. Garrison?
Oliver Stone's joining us from Buenos Aires this morning. Oliver, good morning. How you doing?
Hi, Bryant.
You expected JFK to be controversial. Has it exceeded your expectations, all the ruckus?
Yes, I think it has. I think it's gotten some climate going in the country to get to the bottom of this this declassified affair.
You have referred to your film as a counter myth. Explain that to me, if you would.
Well, I don't have all the facts, and I can't obviously present them all because the government buried them 28 years ago. FBI files, CIA files, military intelligence files were not really given. The deep matter was not given to the Warren Commission. So obviously I'm in the area of hypothesis, and I've said that openly. And I think the Warren Commission is also in the area of hypothesis and speculation with the magic bullet, with Oswald and the 3 shots.
Having said all that, as a piece of history, what do you think JFK is worth, the film? I mean, as a piece of filmmaking, I don't think anybody disputes its value. As a piece of history, what do you think it's worth?
Well, I think it's going to, in the long run, people are going to find out it's a lot closer to the truth than the Warren Commission was. I think it's incontestable that if you, for example, look at the Zapruder film, that you see 2 very improbable things that are happening there. The government asks us to accept both of them. One is obviously the magic bullet that pauses, it goes through Kennedy, and it stops for 2 seconds before it attacks Connolly. And then the other thing is this shot from the rear, the fatal headshot from the rear, and it throws his head backwards. Now, even if I accept one of these improbabilities, how do you expect me to accept both of them? And I think the film raises hard questions like that, the history of Oswald, the background of Oswald, how he got the job on the 6th floor overlooking the precise point where the car slows down, how he gets in and out of Russia, What is a communist hanging out with in New Orleans and in Dallas? Why is he hanging out with anti-communists like George de Mohrenschildt, Guy Bannister, David Ferry, Clay Shaw? These are questions that have not really been addressed yet, and I think the film makes it clear that they have to be.
You have personally taken an awful lot of hits over the past couple of months over the film. Why do you think, Oliver, it's been so vilified, even by those who don't buy the Warren Commission's theory?
Well, I think that I'm sort of saying that we were lied to. We were lied to in a big way, and it was covered up. And I'm also saying that the press 28 years ago bought the cover story. On Friday afternoon, the biography of Oswald as a lone nut communist was shaped. It was out on the wires before he was even charged with the murder of the president. On Sunday morning, the New York Times headline said, "President's assassin is killed in Dallas." It didn't even say alleged assassin. And it's hard for the press, I think, to go back and say that they accepted this, they were naive and they accepted this cover story that was put out by, I think, a covert agency that killed the president and had the cover story in place and put it out there. And here's a filmmaker, here's an artist 28 years later coming and saying that they screwed up. It's a little difficult for them to swallow their pride.
We looked at the key points of all the theories involved this week, including the big lie theory that I think your film espoused. Your problems with federal theories are well documented. Let me ask you just for a moment to ask, what's your problem with the theory that the mafia did it?
Well, if you accept that there's a fourth shot, which I think you have to as a Zapruder film, you have to accept there's two riflemen. If there's two riflemen, there's a conspiracy. Then you ask yourself, what agency is sophisticated enough to pull this off? I showed a very complicated ambush, precision rifle fire. Who could get Oswald in and out of Russia? Who could create the legend of Oswald? And I think the only answer is the people who've already done it before, people in military intelligence or the CIA who've done assassinations abroad, who've done coups d'etats. There is no history of the mafia doing this kind of sophisticated business. There is a history of the CIA using the mafia. We know this from declassified documents in foreign countries. They use criminal elements. There is no doubt that Jack Ruby made many phone calls to mafia associates in the days before and after. So I think it's quite conceivable that the CIA uses the mafia, used Jack Ruby to rub out Lee Oswald. But the mafia simply does not have the organizational ability to design a parade route or to create the legend of Oswald.
Oliver, what do you say to those Americans who say, hey, look, I don't believe the Warren Commission findings, but it's real hard for me to believe the worst of our leaders and institutions that they would, over differences of policy and finance, kill their commander-in-chief?
Well, I say that we have to really make our government accountable. It's supposed to be a democracy. We're supposed to have control over what the government does. But I feel, and I think many Americans feel, that the government's been pushing us around for the last 30 years. In Vietnam, with the murder of Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King. You know, these are the secrets, they say. Robert Gates says he's going to open up the CIA files. Well, let's do it. Let's get serious and really look into the issue of who Oswald was. What was he doing in Russia? What was he doing in Mexico City? Let's look into the military intelligence, which we never did. We never looked at the Office of Naval Intelligence files on Oswald, or the Army Intelligence files, which they say they routinely destroyed. But why did they routinely destroy it?
If those files,
why did they have a file on them?
If those files are open, will you feel vindicated?
Open without exemption. And obviously they have to be looked at and not tampered with, like the Oliver North shredding machine. That we have to find a means to be honest about this. If Mr. Gates is honest and this is not a public relations scam, let's go forward with some kind of, immediate investigation. Let's look at these files. Let's look at the FBI files on Guy Bannister, which were taken the day of his death. Let's make the government, let George Bush, who's obviously a problem here because he's the ex-head of the CIA, and he has said that this is an issue of national security. I have to wonder, I think the American people wonder, why is it an issue of national security if Oswald was a lone nut communist who did this 28 years ago? The only reason to hide his files is because he does have compromising connections to some sort of intelligence agency.
Final question. When last you and I had a chance to speak about this, it was just before the premiere of JFK. You had been editing around the clock, and I think it's safe to say you were physically and emotionally spent. What kind of toll has all this taken on you?
I'm very pleased. I feel vindicated. The film has been a box office success in the United States. People are coming out of the film, and I think they're moved, and it's working in Europe, and it's working here in South America. You know, I'm trying to light a fire, and I hope it really it moves to the, I mean, Mr. Kennedy's dead and we can't bring him back, and I think something bad happened. But I do think we can move forward and make this an accountable democracy where the state is not a tyrant, is that the people have a say in their affairs and they can be trusted with their own history.
Oliver, thank you. Travel safely.
Thank you, Brian.
Having spent 5 days pursuing the possibilities of who killed JFK, we have succeeded only in showing the depth of the mystery. Though it's possible that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, it's just as possible to allow the likelihood of a conspiracy of some kind. And as if JFK's murder weren't enough, consider this. In the first 13 years following the assassination, 37 people with some relation to the case died violently. The odds against that, actuaries say, are higher than 1 in 10,000. We thought showing you who they were, along with how and when they died, would make an intriguing footnote to our series. They add further mystery to one of the great puzzles of our time.
Now there's a new way to lose weight and